Under Nigeria's electoral law, a presidential candidate is deemed to have won if he or she gets no less than a quarter of the votes cast in at least two-thirds of all the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The provision has been interpreted differently by the opposition and Tinubu's lawyers. The opposition says the successful candidate should get 25% of the votes in three-quarters of the states and the same in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, while Tinubu and, of course, lawyers argued that the 25% refers to the states and Abuja combined.
Lawyers for Nzeako Abubakar and Peter Obi told the Supreme Court the tribunal erred when it declared that it was not mandatory for the electoral agency to electronically transmit results from polling stations, even though it had promised to do so. They also argued that Tinubu did not score 25% of the vote in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, which meant he did not meet the legal threshold to be declared winner. The Apex Court, which will deliver judgment today, is led by a 7-member panel of Justice Nzeako, Justice Uwani Musa Abaji, Justice Ibrahim Saulawa, Justice Mohammed Lawal Garba, Justice Tijani Abubakar, Justice Adamu Jauro, Justice Emmanuel Ajim. Now let's give a brief background of these justices. Justice Nzeako is from Nung Ukim Ikono local government area in Akwa Ibom State. He attended the Nigerian Law School, Lagos, and was called to the Nigerian Bar in 1985. Justice Okoro was elevated to the Supreme Court on November 15, 2013. He's currently the 4th most senior justice of the court.
Justice Uwani Musa Abaji is the highest ranking female judge of the Supreme Court bench and the panel's sole female member. She was born on November 7, 1956 in Gusho, Yobe State, or Gashua, I beg your pardon, Yobe State. She was called to the bar in 1981 and commenced her career as State Counsel in 1982. Appointed High Court Judge of Yobe State Judiciary December 1991, making her the first lady judge at Yobe State Judiciary. Of course, she held that position until 2004, then was elevated to the Court of Appeal. She was then elevated to the Supreme Court January 8, 2019.
Justice Ibrahim Saulawa was born on the 29th of September 1956 in Katsina State. He was called to the Nigerian Bar on the 2nd of July 1982. Justice Saulawa was elevated to the bench of the Court of Appeal on June 10, 2006. After spending his time in the Nigerian legal scene, he was elevated to the bench of the Supreme Court on the 10th of November 2020. Justice Mohammed Lawal Garba was born on November 16, 1958. He's from Gusau local government area of Zamfara State. He was then appointed a judge of the High Court of Justice, Sokoto State, from 1993 to 1996. He served as Chief Judge, High Court of Justice, Zamfara State, from 1996 to 2004. Remarkably, he served as a member of the Electoral, the Presidential Election Campaign Panel in 2011, and also as chairman of the Presidential Election Panel that dismissed the petition that Atiku filed to challenge the election of former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2019. He was elevated to the Supreme Court on the 6th of November 2020.
We also have Justice Tijani Abubakar, who was born April 15, 1960. Hails from Basse local government area of Yobe State. Graduated from Nigerian Law School and was called to bar in 1983. He worked in several legal parastatals in Yobe State and was the 7 Lagos Division of Appellate Court when he was 7 at the Lagos Division of Appellate Court before he was elevated to Supreme Court in 2020. Justice
Adamu Jauro was born on the 26th of June 1959. He was born in Gombe State and called to the bar in 1983. In 2007, he was promoted to the Court of Appeal and served in Jos, Lagos, Yola, Ibadan, and Port Harcourt. Justice Jauro was elevated to the Supreme Court bench in November 2020.
And of course, we have Justice Emmanuel Agim, I beg your pardon, who was born April 26, 1916, Obudu, Cross River State. He served as the Chief Justice of Gambia from 2009 to 2013 and was also a former Chief Justice of Swaziland. He's also former Justice at the Nigerian Court of Appeal and currently Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
As Nigerians await the decision of the Supreme Court on the outcome of the February 25th presidential election, let's also tell you that no legal challenge to the outcome of a presidential election has succeeded in Nigeria since the return of democracy in 1999. Many are now asking, will history be made today? To discuss this further, let's bring in Fred Nzeako. He's a lawyer and a development economist. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
Well, we can't preempt the court. We don't know what the decision of today's court will be like. But I'd like to find your analysis on how the court has handled the matter so far. And were you expecting that the judgment will be released today? Or do you think, are you also of the view that it was maybe hastily concluded, like some people say?
Let me start from the last. Anybody who's talking about being hastily attended to by the Supreme Court is possibly not addressing his or her mind to the fact that Supreme Court does not waste time when it wants to act, because it has an avalanche of matters to attend to, and this is just one of them. Even though this is a very primary one, a very important one to the country, because it touches on the apex leadership of Nigeria. That does not mean that the Supreme Court will sleep on that. And there's nothing hasty about it. The Electoral Act says that within 90 days, which is 3 months after the delivery of judgment by the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court should deliver its own judgment. The Court of Appeal delivered its judgment on 6th of September, and today is 26th of October. So we are looking at over a month and 2 weeks. So there's nothing hasty about it. And issues have been joined. The written address has been adopted, and the court has had the briefs of all the litigants. So the court is set to deliver judgment. By Monday, when the matter came up before the Supreme Court adjourned to a later date to deliver judgment. And such date will be communicated to the parties and their lawyers. And such date is coming up today. I don't think there's anything hasty about it. What is important as a court of policy and the apex court of the country, we need to put this matter behind us so that issues about good governance, or rather issues about governance proper, would take over and not wasting all the time of governance in the court. So I think Supreme Court should be saluted for living up to expectations.
Oh, well, I mean, the thoughts on putting this behind us, does it matter if Nigerians see this as a miscarriage of justice, or not, are you maybe implying that it's best we get this over with and really just focus on, like you said, governance, regardless of, what the interpretations are by, Nigerian people generally, regardless of, whether the process through which these persons have been elected into office is seen to be free, fair, and credible.
We can't be going, okay?
Go ahead.
We can't be going back to the issues all the time. Litigation has taken place. Issues have been joined at the Presidential Election Petition Court at the Court of Appeal. What is awaiting the Supreme Court now is to either affirm the decision of the Court of Appeal or upturn it. And when keeping it for a very long time does not mean that they are waiting for justice. The Supreme Court would have gone through all the issues and would have gone through the presentations by the litigants. And then they are set to deliver judgment. There's no need saying, oh, it is too early. You don't wait for the last day. That does not mean that it is only then that the judgment, or rather justice of the matter, will be delivered. Justice of the matter can be delivered today. And for anybody saying, oh, they want to rush to deliver justice, and once they do that, or rather to deliver judgment, and once they do that, it means that they just that the miscarriage of justice. Don't forget that justice delayed is justice denied to some extent, and that is why the Electoral Act has said that has set timelines for delivery of judgment on all electoral issues. And once you operate within that timeline, it is legal and legitimate and encouraged. And we expect that when the judgment comes today, it will raise the issue. Either in the direction of in any direction, the matter must be rested today. And it's also important to note that those who feel that there will be a turning of the apple cart, let us wait until we hear the Supreme Court deliver their judgment. On my own side, I do not think that there will be any reinvention of the wheel. I do not think so.
Okay, so let's look at what the likely positions are. The Supreme Court would either declare that, declare the legitimacy of the current administration, or otherwise. Let's talk about what the next steps are, depending on which variable or which side the Supreme Court lean towards. And I ask this because, like we've been talking about the concerns a number of people have shared. Some have said and expressed concern about the FBI files that will be released on the 30th of October, stating that the Supreme Court's decision to give judgment on the 26th, 4 days before release of files that might contain information that maybe might be relevant for the case. So, do you think that if the release of these files, if it does contain any incriminating evidence, will then change the trajectory of whatever direction the judgment has taken?
The Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of Nigeria and not Supreme Court of any other country. The decision, the actions, the pronouncement of the Supreme Court does not concern any other country. In this matter, it concerns Nigeria and Nigeria's electoral process. And the Supreme Court is not waiting for any other authority or institution or country or body in order to deliver its judgment. It's only looking at the issues brought before it from the presidential election petition tribunal at the Court of Appeal. Whatever that is going on in the United States, whether the FBI report that will be released on 30th will signpost the decision of the Supreme Court, is only being merely speculative, because the FBI did not write the Supreme Court to say we are going to deliver or rather release the reports on 30th. So you wait for us. They didn't make such demand. And even if they did, Supreme Court will not attend to such demand because they are not answerable. The Supreme Court is not answerable to the FBI or to the United States of America. So I do not see any connection. I do not see any nexus between the Supreme Court judgment that is coming today and the release of the FBI report on the 30th. It's only political speculators that will try to string the two incidents together and try to make an interpretative meaning out of it. As far as I'm concerned, Supreme Court is not even aware that such thing is going to be done because the Supreme Court was not written by the FBI and is not acting in concert with the pronouncement of FBI. As a matter of fact, as far as Supreme Court is concerned, the FBI's report is of no issue, is of no relevance to the matter before it. So I do not think it has any connection whatsoever. But then, naturally, human beings in their speculative manner would want to say so, especially when politics is involved, because in politics, every move is interpreted one way or the other to favor the nuances of the interpreter. So I don't think it has any meaning to what the Supreme Court is going to do today.
We're going to come back to you, so just quickly hold on. Let's get quick updates from the Supreme Court this morning and share with our viewers what's going on over there. Marvelous Ogbonmwan is right there. Good morning once again, Marvelous.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, quickly share with us, what's the update? Earlier you said that you weren't allowed into the court. Has that changed? And of course, have more people arrived?
Yeah, of course, after a back and forth movement, argument with the court officials and the...
All right. Seems to be a little struggle with the connection there with Marvelous Ogbonmwan, who is live at the Supreme Court to, of course, bring us live feed and share with us live updates. I think we have him back. Go ahead, please. Still connection issues. While we try to fix that, let's go back to Fred Nzeako. Thank you very much for staying with us. You did speak about, the importance with which we should get over these legal gymnastics and, get to governance. I want, to get your thoughts on what we currently call governance. Mr. Nzeako, do you, see that Nigeria is maybe somehow, somewhere moving in the right direction with the, current first few months of the current administration?
Well, if I say that Nigeria is moving in the right direction, that means I am not alive to the suffering in the land. Nigerians are obviously suffering massively. Lack of food, lack of affordable health care facilities, lack of infrastructure, lack of almost everything. The enjoyment of life index of Nigerians have dropped so badly, and Nigerians are essentially suffering. Many people, we used to have over 130 million people living below poverty line. As of today, the number has increased. But then, if you want to tie it to the activities of the present government, then you are not covering the grounds. You are not, that means one is only looking for a scapegoat to hang the sufferings of Nigerians on. The sufferings of Nigerians did not start with this government and will not end with this government. Nigeria's political, economic, and social structure needs to be rejigged. Nigeria is yearning for restructuring so that most of these challenges will be tackled headlong. And I can tell you that no matter the government that you bring on, the challenges will continue because we do not have a country that is anchored on productivity and anchored on progressive growth. And that is why we are declining steadily. Every decade, Nigeria gets worse. Nigeria decays by the decade. And it is a continuous slide.
All right. I think now we may have lost the connection with Fred Nzeako. Let's go back to the court this morning. Marvelous still hanging in. Good morning once again, Marvelous.
Yeah, good morning.
All right. Kindly go ahead. We lost you for a second.
All right, sorry. You know that initially they didn't want us to, get live updates inside the courtroom, but of course they're allowing a handful of media camera people to have a live feed from what is happening inside the courtroom. Of course, I told you earlier on that they were not allowing camera people to enter inside the court premises. But after some back and forth arguments, they later allowed us to enter inside the premises of court. But then we'll have to maintain a form of about 0.5 meters away from the main court entrance. But for now, some of the security personnel just came out to announce that, yes, they are going to take this particular verdict live, and they are just cross-checking some of the journalists that will enter inside the courtroom to take it live from there.
Okay, well, have you also noticed the presence of any familiar faces?
Of course, some of the senior lawyers just started trickling in now. Of course, the legal counsel to the People's Democratic Party, talking about Chris Uche, just made his way into the courtroom. And of course, we've seen the human rights lawyer, Mike Ogbonmwan, just entered, of course, and few of the party supporters. We've seen few people from the side of Osarogie and, of course, from Atiku Abubakar, few of the supporters just entering inside.
Okay, all right. We wouldn't want you to miss any part of it, so I think you may want to, head back into the court this morning so you can give us a, better update and a report from the courts as the day progresses. Thank you very much. We'll join you again at some point.
All right. Okay.
All right. I don't know if we still have Fred Nzeako. Okay, Mr. Nzeako, thanks very much once again for staying with us.
Thank you, I'm here.
Yeah, we, of course, lost the connection with you, while you were speaking. But from your analysis, it doesn't matter who is president. Nigeria's challenges would continue to exist and would maybe even continue to become worse. The dollar is, looking like it's going to hit 1,500 naira, maybe 2,000 naira at some point in the near future. And it's not because of the current administration. It is simply because Nigeria needs restructuring. But, it's your argument. But do you think that maybe if we had a different perspective of governance in office, if we had a government that didn't immediately yank off subsidy or just make a statement like that, allegedly ending subsidy, even if there are reports now that subsidy is still being paid, if maybe we had a government that understood that Nigeria needs to start saving money or start redirecting the money that it has into ways that it can be more productive. If maybe Nigeria had a government that understood that we need to figure out who is stealing Nigeria's crude and ensure that it's not just with words, but with actions. We tackle the theft of Nigeria's crude oil and increase our quota of production. If we had a government that maybe understood that we need to invest a little bit more, we need to start taking loans not to give out as palliatives in bags of rice and 5,000 naira or whatnot, but we need to maybe take loans that we're going to be directing into increasing our electricity supply, electricity generation, that maybe it wouldn't be as bad as it currently is. Do you think that maybe, just before the restructuring that you seek or that you've mentioned, that Nigeria at least will be stable?
Well, I agree with you in some of your maybes, and I went straight to the fundamentals where the crux of the matter lies, without romanticizing the issues and the problems, because some of those issues and problems that you mentioned are challenges that arose out of the structural imbalance of Nigerian political, social, and economic environment. Yes, even if you didn't remove the subsidy, where is the money to continue to pay the subsidy? Two, it is, yes, needed that you fight the fuel thieves, the oil thieves. How do you fight them? With a structure that is weak. Three, it is good. You invest money in agriculture, invest money in industry, in manufacturing, in productivity. Yes, where is the money to be invested? Where the structure is still so bad that the solid minerals we have under the ground all belong to the federal government, and they are being stolen by even foreigners. In a country where we cannot even do a proper census, in a country where we have 36 states that many of them are in debt and many of them cannot even pay their basic salaries without getting money from the federation account. And what is the meaning of federation account? In a country where the local government system is allowed to die, because local government structure as we speak, which is the government closest to the people, is comatose. These are all the issues that need to be restructured. When we talk about restructuring, it's not only the issues about oil derivation and the rest. It's about social, political, and economic structure of Nigeria. And there are so many things that are bedeviling the country, of which government after government, they seem to lack the will, the power to implement some of those things. In a country where the corrupt elements are more than the patriotic ones, to the extent that Nigeria, an analyst has one time said that there is no Nigerian in Nigeria because of the cleavages that Nigerians all have when it comes to issues concerning this country. The country where tribalism and nepotism is holding sway and have refused to die. The country where you no longer talk about state of residence, you are more interested in the tribe and the religion. These are the challenges. And these challenges, yes, you might say that they are deep-rooted. They are the major problems of the country. In a country where the citizens are essentially wicked and nobody thinks of the next person, that Nigeria now looks like an environment of an animal kingdom where some are more equal than the others, and it's a matter of what you see in the game reserve, where each animal is hunting the other. These are all the challenges. And if you don't sit down to also look at the nature of our constitutional democracy, where the North is operating different from the South, and where you have one country for all and one country for
Nzeako.
none. These are all the challenges.
Yeah.
So if you take it on a superficial level, yes, you can say, yes, the current government may not be doing well, but who will do well? Who will do better under the current structure?
I mean, but again,
that we have.
Again, my point is that it's everyone can have their own different assessment on whether the current government is doing well. But there are certain things that I feel like everybody would agree with, that these are steps that should be taken. And, you know, if the government has stepped in and is taking absolutely none of these steps, or is showing no signs as interested in these things. In fact, lawmakers are buying SUVs for 160 million naira each and defending it, telling Nigerians to their face that these are the SUVs they're going to buy because the roads are bad. You know, I mean, it almost just feels like a slap on the face of these same Nigerians that are going through the worst times that they've ever experienced. But whether, you know, another president would have done better, nobody might ever know. But we'll continue to discuss these things. Fred Nzeako, always a pleasure speaking with you. We enjoy conversations with you, and we hope to have you join us again.
Thank
you very much.